Well, the last painting, you don't know the real story because my friend Kaha from Marqueshan, his great-great-grandfather owned a vineyard in Atuona. That's where Gauguin used to be. And he would make wine, and he would give the wine to the girls, and the girls would drink the wine and take their shirts off for Paul Gauguin. And the last painting of Gauguin was a blue parrot that he painted, that he gave it to that guy who had the vineyard. That was before he died. That was the last painting of Gauguin. And there is a blue parrot in Marquesas. It's called Vinny. It's about this big. And so I've never seen the painting, but I've heard it from Kaha, and I know it's a true story, you know.
It's a beautiful space.
Yeah,
it's a really beautiful
It's nice
space.
because it's not a museum, you know. It's like, yeah, it's kind of here.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Here's the other plywoods that I told you, the marine plywoods. I've done an abstract. I kind of did a biblical abstract thing over there, a series. This kind of like Noah's Ark and the rainbow, you know, once you kind of. And the other ones, I don't want to really get into them, but you know, they are a series of that.
That's cool because it's religious connotation, and we don't want to really even touch it. It doesn't the context.
It's
we don't even need to.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've given people some hint about the direction. I like the rope part the most, really. You know, it's like I nailed it right into this to the frame. I mean.
Well, and the symbolism of the rope, especially here in Maui and the Tahitian, and how it tied the boats together, and I get it.
I have a good friend. His name is Darren Quinn, DQ. He's a really good artist, and I've learned this thing from him. So I kind of did it for his, out of my respect to him.
Cool.
He used to paint these Amore paintings, and so. That's why I put that inside there. You know, for Darren, God bless him. Great guy, man, amazing. Total inspiration.
Love it.
Yeah,
love
and this is about love and the ropes who tie you in love. You see, I even painted ropes in there.
The lovely piece.
You know, and how the things that binds us into love and life, you know.
You can dig it.
And me too, you have to, I have no choice. And here's some of my, I started to do on paper this size. People were complaining that my prices are too high. So, and I'm a people's artist, you know, and mostly I paint people, if you notice that. And the Polynesian culture, you know. And so I started doing that so many years ago, and it's good because it's a great deal for the originality end of it, you know, and the price. And it's still a value thing for them and my family. This is like that new thing that I kind of started, like, that I told you, that is more graphic, but I still have a lot of fun with it. It's like Neptune. It's a whole other technique. The landscapes are all in the yard, all from the yard. So I do this style of like, but it's also a style. That's that new type.
That's
I haven't done so many, but there are some of them in here. That
it's got like a lithographic.
Yes, it has that essence.
It's a hybrid. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, you are on it. You know, some of them are silly, but they're fun.
Well, but what is silly, right? And what is joy? You know, and
exactly. It's a style. It's a style. Let's say that. It's like,
right on.
Yeah, like an old school young cane worker with machete. That period is gone by. I've got good friends in Tahiti. She's the granddaughter of Christian Fletcher from the Bounty, from Norfolk Island. He was the officer who kind of started the revolt. They said that he still survived. They saw him in London. Who knows? They didn't live in those days. But the most correct English is spoken in that island. It's from the 1600. They've kind of kept the traditions. I don't know about today, but and here's an interesting thing. This Madonna down here. My son Jazz carried it on his shoulder from the end of Maliko Gulch, in the ocean side. And I think it's like 80 pounds. He was just like a young teenage when he did it for me. So I did carve it. Took me a whole month. I carved it. I think my family went to the mainland for a month. So I carved it with a chisel and a hammer. And then I moved down to sandpapers, and obviously the work is rough in one side, like the hand here, incomplete. But the interesting thing that I found about it is that I've learned from one of my artist friends. His name was Dale Moore on the Big Island. He passed away, God bless him. Great guy, I've learned a lot from him. That if you'll take vinegar and stain wool, how do you call this? Stainless steel wool, right?
Okay, yeah.
And you put them in a glass jar together for like a week. And after a week, you would take a cloth and you'll dip it in, and you can pass it over a raw piece of dry wood that you just sand it down, and it will turn black. That's how old sculptors used to ebonize wood. And so I decided to try it on the stone. And so I did 3 applications of this stuff in the middle of the stone, and as you can see, it did get dark. You can see the difference, between the outside and the inside. And I kind of kept her like semi-Holy Spirit, like a nun, but still she's got sexuality and femininity, And yeah, so I wonder where she will end one day. Collection of tikis that I've collected in the Marquesas Islands. I've got I've collected in every village that I've been in Marquesas a tiki, or 1 or 2, from the local carvers. And I documented them on the bottom. I have written the names of the villages, each village where I collected. And I still have it in storage, most of them, but they have been out before. They'll come out again.
So many great pieces. Yeah, let's pick out a piece. Thank you so much.
No, it's nothing serious. Nothing. But my enemy is the silverfish, who eats my paper. Prehistoric things that probably last more than all of us. I used to live in Molokai in Kavela.
Oh, wow.
And right on Kanoa Pond. There was only one house over there at that time. We lived there. And I used to catch a lot of uluas with a canoe. I'd go out outside of the pond.
And not tip the canoe?
I have used to paddle surf. I tried to learn how to catch a wave. I've lost 5 pairs of expensive glasses in the same spot that I couldn't find pearl in the canoe. So I have done it many a times.
Respect.
Yeah.
Cool
But I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool
But yeah,
backstory
that's-
to a piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for these fish, ulua. They're amazingly how strong they are. I've had one wrapped around the coral head this big, because I used to use a rope, and it just broke that thing. It's unbelievable how strong they are. So, yeah, that's in the old days. It's different today. Here's some sculpture. One day in the woods, my wife carried this log for me. It's tropical ash, and out of respect, I carved this is like an Hawaiian entity, the pueo.
Well.
And it's like the day owl you see on the dry side when you drive around. Sometimes they fly like this in one spot. So I've made like 4 owls together, and in certain ways it looks like a tiki, and
yeah.
but that's what you see actually. There's the one owl, little owl, and there's another one. His eyes is big. I mean, they're like. So that's what that is. Yeah. It was super old, but still, you know, you'll be able. Now it's like half a knife, half a brush, but you recycled it. And usually, when it's not so old, the paint goes away, and the brush gets restored to its original position, and then you give it an edge, and you can use it again. And so, and that's a very small, limited edition of a ceramic line of fish sculpture that done.
Very cool. Very Seussian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are all like ready to go to the foundry at one point, if they ever will. They're mostly made out of different materials, clay and beeswax, you know, and exploring too.
Yeah.
This one was made at the time from a very rare wood, which is actually a koa, but it's like solid, like ebony. Huh? Yeah.
Wow.
And I made like a Hawaiian kahuna out of it. It has like an African motif, origins almost like.
Spirit man.
Spirit man. Yeah. And I gave him like a head lay. And I was learning about how to use paddy. And just leave it as it is and be happy that it's just there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And much like the face of that, what would be the eastern side of Africa, yeah?
Yeah, and also probably the eastern island a little bit. Slightly, the Maui. Yeah. Some influence from there, the tikis, you know. But definitely some African. The thing is, it has serenity, you know, of some sort. You know, it's like a peace with itself, you know. And it should be, you know. Old school, you know, playing ukulele in the canoe. And like I said, I'm not afraid to get silly. My friend Marwan from Lebanon taught me about how to do, like, you start with a bottle and you coat it with, you know. So I've done one in his honor, and I think it's from Wild Pig, you know. It's definitely voodoo.
Yeah, it's got vibe. It's personality.
It's funny, you know what I'm saying? It's okay.
It's cool.
It doesn't have to be like whatever it is. It just is.
Hey, pardon me real quick
before
we leave the area. I mean, please, let's touch on this.
This is like, my dad taught me how to do carving, woodcuts. He's done a lot of woodcuts, and so I've learned how to print and to do woodcuts for my dad. God bless him, he passed away a long time ago.
Bless.
And yeah. And so here and there I still carry on the tradition, and I try to pull something out.
And was this a starting point to lithography, or what was?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of lino cuts.
Nice.
And that was my serious start in Hawaii. You know, the printing lino. From very basic ones, I started with the Ben Franklin papers.
True hands.
I think it was $3.49 for 50 in those days. The kids in the kindergartens, not even in the school, would use them. You know, there were like few different colors. I said, hey, the colors are there already. And so one day I was selling my prints. My wife would shrink wrap them inside a mat board that would fit the color of the. They were beautiful actually, and so I would sell them for $10 a print. So one time I was selling in Kona the prints, and there was one bigger print. It was called Bamboo Forest, I think. It was like bamboos and faces kind of peeking in and there. And two grandmothers were there, two old ones. I mean, like, I don't know how old, but old, with the bags and, you know, that old school. So the one lady picked up the print and then put it back in, and the other lady came and picked that print and came to me and she said, here, I want to buy this. And then the other lady said, hey, that was my print. And then they started to fight with their bags, hitting each other. I'm serious, you know. The next day, the price went up, I think, to $15, you know.
And you never looked back.
No, but that was like quite amazing. I've never seen grandmas fighting, especially not over my print. This is like a lobster. It has broken down from a coconut. It's a part of coconut prawns.
Oh,
my son made a video of it. I was blowtorching it. I was trying to melt the wax on top of it, and it was on top of like some sort of a Chinese cooking pot. And I blowtorched the thing, and there was no response whatsoever. People saw that I'm torturing a huge, because for some reason at that time it looked pretty real. It was pretty funny that, you know, people were afraid to respond.
Good. Good.
Okay.
Appreciate
Got that. Thank you
for that.
Yeah, thank you. This particular piece, right here, you can see there is two signatures. This is my signature, Avi Kiriaty, and this is my son's signature, Jazz Kiriaty.
Fascinating.
Yeah, we've been painting together for years. And right now, both of us have a show in Sargent's Gallery in Lahaina. And both of us are like featured artists over there. It's a challenging thing. We take turns, and we've gone through hardships, obviously, in the beginning, and possibly in the future as well. You know, it's very, but we always manage to somehow end up with something. And you might have some religious elements pop out here and there, but they don't have the meaning of that, you know. And it's just for connections. Velvet nude, the Persian rug.
Okay, so the dynamism. How are you able to tap into so many different feels, looks?
Yeah, curiosity is one, and entertainment is the other. Because, you know, the borders between work and true joy of art, movement, and so on, they overlap constantly. And so it's not, you know, I don't try to romanticize my job. It's not at all. It's the most boring sometimes thing that you could ever have. It's like it's closer to like being a farmer or a fisherman, you know, if you are. There's a couple of beautiful Polynesian zahinis. You know, I try to keep, you know, have them with some slight feelings that you can feel, you know. But sometimes they're a little bit cold, but you have to go beyond that to get into them, you know.
Just like real life.
Just like real life, yeah.
And the horizon, look at what we call cowboy eyes. Those are like 30-mile eyes.
Ooh. Let's see. This is the gate where you came from. I don't think that rooster was there when you came, but this is a recycled piece of marine plywood.
Very nice.
Right here, yeah, it's done on location on September 20th. You see this hole here? This is a nail hole right here, and there's another one over here. But what I did, I drove 5 o'clock in the morning to Baldwin Beach to Baby Pond from that side. You can see the red clay on this side, you know, that ramp.
What the locals call it, yeah.
So I drove right to the very end of it. I left like 5 feet and I set my easel in there. I started 5 o'clock in the morning to paint this piece. And I lined this hole with Jupiter that morning, you know. So on September 20th, so that's Jupiter on that day, like at that time. And then I painted it, and the sky, you have the sky that once the light starts to come in, you get the colors. But it's for a very limited time before the white light comes in and washes everything away. And a couple of people came over swimming. And that's what really makes this painting, is these people here and their reflections in the water. There's a man and a woman in here. And I think it was a local fisherman over there. But it's very simple painting, but it has that impressionistic essence, and I was really happy to catch the sky and the motion of the ocean and the tide at the time, the reef with the seaweed, and the distances of Haiku Hill in the back, with the purples, and all those ironwoods in here, and the diagonals of the beach at the time. So I'm kind of happy with it. That's a challenge for an artist, and so sometimes I do like motifs and I work them out. This one is like classically Tahitian, like 70s, 80s. Picking up the fish early in the morning inside the lagoon, the sun coming behind the clouds, and the hala. But it's simple, but it has that essence of that era,
Yeah. So much power.
This one is kind of like, in a way, self-portrait, almost.
Uh-huh.
But
Mana.
yeah, it's, it's like a softer.
Oh,
sorry.
beautiful. Wow. Yeah. Hit after hit.
Couple uhus, parrotfish. This old just Japanese guy who passed away in Adao Honda was a jiu-jitsu master. Taught me how to throw a net in the old days. And I think in my days I caught like 7 blue parrots with my throw net. Which is like, doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. He's a stylized Hawaiian drummer, the classic pahu, which was made with coconut trunk carved with a shark skin mostly on top. And had all kinds of different artistic and acoustic expressions.
Yeah, it looks like it projects.
And that's how you switch the drum with those things.
I'm with it. Beautiful composition.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, try to keep it simple.
Well, simple's elegant, and elegant's efficient, and if it's not efficient, then
it gets extinct.
it gets extinct.
Well put. Couple old school.
Yeah, boys.
Yeah.
Respect.
The how bush tree
Get it, how
grows by the ocean. And, couple of parrotfish too.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank
down.
you for coming. It's an honor.
Such a pleasure.
I'm glad.
I'm just really stoked. The Aloha here is so real. There's so much color and vibe and
Thanks.
context. The whole tour. Just thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.